What's up everyone? I would like to introduce you to Basil. Basil is my adult male deadleaf mantis, Deroplatis desiccata, and I would like to take this chance to introduce him to you and also talk through a bit about their care and husbandry. So this lovely species of mantis originates from southeastern Asia in countries such as Malaysia, Borneo and Indonesia. And as their name suggests, they mimic a dead leaf. They have a brown coloration with a large thorax shield, which often mimics a dead leaf, and veins on their wings when they're adult, which also mimic leaves. So they have really, really great camouflage. Deroplatis desiccata and all dead leaf mantises are pretty large species of mantis. They range from about 7 to 8 centimetres in males, and females can exceed 9 centimetres in length, which is quite large for a mantis. They are quite a long-lived species of mantis. Females can live well over a year. There's even some records of them living up to 2 years for the females. Males, on the other hand, live a shorter lifespan, but still quite a long time relative to most other mantises. Males can live for over a year as well. Generally, it's about a year. I've had Basil here from about February last year, so it's almost been a year. He is quite old, bless him. He's getting quite old and frail. You'll see he has certain legs missing. He has half of one of his antenna missing, and the way he just moves just reminds me of a really old gentleman, bless him. But he's still doing really well. He's still feeding. He still flies every now and again, and we're going to give him a feed and then talk a bit more about their care and husbandry. So we're going to pop a locust in there for him. Hopefully he should eat that. He did just eat a couple of days ago though, so he might not be hungry. So he doesn't seem to want that locust right now, so I've put him on this leaf so he can have a bit of an explore and a bit of a climb around. So this type of mantis, I wouldn't say it's the perfect beginner type of mantis. They do have sort of more intermediate care than other type of mantis with more, a higher need for higher temperatures. It's definitely not impossible to keep them. I found it fairly straightforward, to be honest, and you can keep them if you're a beginner, if you can provide temperatures that are slightly higher and a humidity between 65 and 85% as well. They're not too picky about what they eat. I mainly feed Basil here locusts, but they will also take down waxworms, fruit flies when they're small, green bottles and larger flies when they're adult. Although with most mantises I would avoid feeding mealworms because they're high in fat, and crickets as well because they can sometimes show signs of aggression towards the mantis and spread disease. So as I've mentioned, the deadleaf mantises do appreciate slightly higher temperatures than most of the types of mantis, slightly higher than room temperature. They are a little tolerant of cooler temperatures, but not as tolerant as some beginner species like the giant Asian. For the deadleaf mantis, I would suggest temperatures between 23 to 28 or 29 degrees Celsius. I wouldn't drop any lower than sort of 21 or 22 during the day, as that can hinder their growth, and at night time it can safely drop to about 18 degrees. I definitely wouldn't keep this mantis at any temperature warmer than 30 degrees, so I'd probably recommend 22 to 30 degrees, and obviously anything at the hotter end of that range will make them grow faster and live a shorter lifespan. Anything at the cooler end will slow down their growth and make them live longer. So humidity, as I've mentioned, between 65 and 85%, so I usually just mist his enclosure a few times a week just to ensure he gets that moisture he needs. And also, this mantis seems to love drinking water as well. It's out of the mantises I've got, this one loves drinking the most. I'll always see him drink the droplets that I've misted in his enclosure. So they do just need that kind of higher amount of water if necessary to drink and to ease molting as well. So as for the enclosure, it's the same as with most species of mantis really. The width of the enclosure needs to be twice the length of the mantis. So say Basil here, he's 7 centimetres long, so I've got him in an enclosure that's 15 centimetres wide at the base, which is more than twice his length, which is fine. And the height of the enclosure must be 3 times the length of the mantis. So I've got him in a 30 centimetre tall enclosure. So it's 15 by 15 by 30 centimetres tall, which is more than sufficient enough. I've put some substrate in the bottom. Obviously mantises, they're not going to burrow, they're arboreal creatures. So they don't need an awful lot of substrate. You can just use kitchen roll in most instances. I've just used soil here because it allows this plant to grow as well. I've got a nice live plant in there and with some moss down there as well. And they don't need an awful lot of decoration, but I think that the live plant looks nice. So because Basil here is an adult, he has wings, and those wings are fully functional, and he can fly. They can fly rather well, this species of mantis. They might be large-bodied, but the wings help them to fly a fair amount of distance for a mantis, really, and he's always enjoyed flying. Whenever I get him out, he likes to have a fly around, although I don't get him out as much now, because obviously he is quite old, bless him, and quite fragile. So with feeding, as with most of the types of mantis, when they're small, I would suggest flightless fruit flies, and just feed them 3 to 5 flightless fruit flies 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the size of the mantis and the size of the feeder and the size of the mantis abdomen as well. If the mantis abdomen looks full, then it is full and you should stop feeding. If it's skinny, then you should probably give it a little more food. As the mantis grows larger, feed it larger food items, but less frequently. So for an adult male here, I will feed 2 of these medium locusts, which aren't too big, they're still fairly small. I will feed 2 of those every week. For a female, you can feed slightly more, maybe 4 of the medium locusts every week, or 1 or 2 large ones every week. But yeah, just be careful not to overfeed your mantis. Generally, they will stop eating when they're full, but if the mantis's abdomen looks too big, then don't give them too much. I think this species of mantis is absolutely gorgeous. Basil here has been one of my favourite mantises that I've kept. I really love him, I really love his personality. And yeah, brilliant species of mantis. Not too hard to care for, not the best beginner species, but you can definitely go for it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you've been into mantises for a while, or you really want a mantis, I would definitely recommend a deadleaf mantis, just to ensure you can meet those care requirements that they have. So he has actually just caught his locust when I put him back in his enclosure. So he might be old, but he's still feeding, still hunting well. And that will pretty much conclude the end of this care video. So if you love Basil too, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe. Take care, and as always, we'll see you on the next one.